because nothing in life is permanent. It's the ebb and the flow, and so whether we become so attached to the win or to the loss, like both come and go. And so you have to learn how to live somewhere in that middle and have your own little flow that happens rather than having the manic spikes up and down. So, if you learn the rhythm, you can go nicely and flow nicely versus the striking between the high and the low.
Hello, this is Kevin Pennell, and welcome to episode 162 of Toward a Better Life. Thanks to you, dear listener, for tuning in to this and other episodes. And regardless of where you may be in the world, our lives can flow with a natural rhythm, a natural flow of the life to ultimately aim toward balance. This is the timeless message of Toward a Better Life, going with a flow in the rhythm of life. That's also performed through implementing balance, harmony, compassion, kindness into our lives, personally, culturally, and spiritually. This all begins with each one of us, you and I, as an individual. And I like to share these concepts on the podcast from around the world, seeking others of the same spirit, heart, and mind. Through application of the many insights and teachings of the episodes, we can become better souls, spirits, and true human beings that continue a journey to wholeness and harmony, not only for ourselves, but for the generations to come. I also offer you the opportunity to share your prose, music, poetry, or storytelling on the program, and thanks ever so much to those of you that have sent in those sorts of things to us to broaden the show and give everyone an opportunity. Please do subscribe to Toward a Better Life if you haven't done so already through your favorite podcast platform, and keep following for weekly magical insights into earth-based spirituality, self-development, and self-care. Also, remember to support the program by leaving your review on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast platform you might be using. Just takes a minute to leave that review, and it just helps with the algorithms and popularity of the program. Do visit my website, towardabetterlife.com, where you can contact me to learn more about your free discovery call to help you on your journey, along with prior episodes, learning opportunities, and services that I offer outside the podcast. I'll get it out, plus a few accessories to assist you on your journey. Contact me through my website or send inquiries to kevin@towardabetterlife.com. I'd like to welcome Ranbir Puar to the program today. Ranbir is a TEDx speaker, author, clinical hypnotherapy, and life strategies coach, and nervous system architect, and certified heart math coach, who's been helping adults and children transform their lives since 2009. She blends neuroscience, somatic regulation, neurofeedback, and mindset training to rewire both mind and body, creating breakthroughs where traditional coaching or talk therapy often plateau. She's also a licensed provider of the Integrated Learning System, FOCUS, and the Rest and Restore Protocol, also the Safe and Sound Protocol, providing her clients with access to cutting-edge tools that accelerate transformation in their lives. Ranbir is a 20-time staff pick on Insight Timer, the world's largest community of mediators, and has spoken at global parenting events such as the Mindful World Parenting Summit alongside Eckhart Tolle and Dr. Shefali, and has been featured in publications around the world. Please welcome Ranbir Puar as we discuss life rhythms on this episode of Toward a Better Life. I want to welcome Ranbir Puar to our program today. Ranbir, it's so nice to see you. How are you and where are you located?
Thank you for having me. I am located in West Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada, on the West Coast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We did just a few hours different.
Yes.
So we have a wonderful opportunity here to talk with Ranbir today because she's been a TEDx speaker, an author, clinical hypnotherapist, life strategies coach, nervous system architect. That's interesting to talk about, I would say, and certified heart math coach. And to say that you're diverse would be kind of an understatement, but I get you. I'm with you 100% because that's where I am.
Right. Yeah,
So,
because I think, well, the human experience is diverse, and I don't really fit in a silo. So I struggle to function in one, so I don't want to provide services in one.
Function in a silo. I like that. That's a
Right.
that's a great way to look at it because I it's outside the normal. We would talk about being in a box. Well, the
Right.
silo is even better. Has a lot more
Yeah.
potential, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to kind of spin off and see where we go with this. But tell us a little bit about Ranbir, if you could.
Sure. Well, I think the most important thing about me is that I'm a mom of two boys. They're now 21 and just 18. I think being their mom is probably the greatest impact and gift of the impact I'll have on the world and the greatest gift I've ever had in my life. So I think I have to start with that. And then secondly, and I have a wonderful husband. And secondly, in my work life, I have since 2009 been really investigating the human experience, I think I would like to say. I'm fascinated by all that we are and all that we could be. And so that's been a driving force for me to explore what's possible for us in regards to healing, in regards to creating, and in regards to just exploring resilience. And from that, I've had some really great experiences. I first started off in crisis management. So almost every client that I was seeing happened to be having some major health crisis or along those lines. And being able to witness and guide people to heal their bodies from terminal illness and things like that was quite an interesting experience. And then being able to go back and look at it forensically and finding patterns and looking at the childhood experience and how much that impacts what happens in adulthood, then it led me to create the kids programs as well. And then ultimately ended up with sort of an intergenerational approach. So anywhere you land, there's options to explore
Mm,
in that. And so, but with that, I mean, mindset is a part of it, but that's the top down model, the thinking mind, trying to navigate the rest of the human. And in that, I realized, well, no, my ancestral practices include the bottom up approach too. So getting into the body, understanding its messages and stories. And so that led me to explore nervous system work, somatic work, heart math, and the clinical hypnotherapy piece, and putting them together because both have a place. Your conscious mind and that mind habits and therapy or coaching has a place, and so does the bottom up approach. So putting them together creates magic.
it does.
Yeah.
And you just said the magic word, magic. It's
Yeah.
it is magical when you look at how we can help people on so many different levels. And sometimes when we throw that word magic out, you immediately go into, maybe even if you're listening, you might even go into a defense mode. Oh, this is just too woo-woo for me. They're going to talk magic. Well, if you look at life itself and you go outside and look at what is outside, even inside, and you look at all the little, I'm going to call them micro miracles that take place each and every day. I remember a long time ago, I did some research in something that I was working on, and I came up, you might even know it, but the number of times that your heart beats and the number of times your lungs breathe in a 24-hour time period is in and of itself a miracle, and it's magical because when you start to think, okay, I've done this and I'm feeling pretty good about life, but this has been going on for X number of years and that heart is still beating.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
explain that to me outside of
And
magic.
and without any thinking effort on your part, you're not having to send the instruction to beat or breathe.
Yeah, yeah.
And that part is taken for granted by most people. But I mean, that's what happens in contraction, right? When people are stressed and contracted, it's
Mm,
very difficult to acknowledge the expansiveness of the human experience. It's very difficult to allow ideas or concepts because you just want to focus on that little bit that you can see right in front of you
mm,
because you're trying to survive. That's a nervous system that's, like I said, contracted for survival. And it's just when we learn how to become safe that we can expand a little bit and maybe even explore the idea of gratitude for that, all of that happening automatically,
Hmm.
right? So it shifts and changes as we progress in our growth periods in our lives.
It is. And you just said another one of my favorite words here moment ago was gratitude.
Right.
And I remember reading something here recently in some of my own personal reading talking about gratitude. And this the interesting part of that little word is it's humbling when you think about it. It's not humiliating, it's humbling. Because when we stop for a moment and we express gratitude for the very fact that my heart beats, and for the very fact my lungs function without any restrictions. I mean, I've been around a little while, and I look at people that are younger than I am, and I hear about they've got a heart problem, they have a breath problem, they've had COPD for X number of years, and I'm sitting here breathing fine, my heart's working well, and it's like, wow, we are. I am so thankful, and I'd like to start my day with a sense of gratitude. And I found that if I take that few minutes in the morning or whenever and I express some sense of gratitude, it sets my whole day. It puts my mind in a good place.
Absolutely. When you wake up in the morning, my husband has a term for it. He calls it your brain's the softest and squishiest. So, whatever you're going to imprint on that mind of yours as you're waking up is very significant in the impact on the trajectory of your day.
Yep.
And, but again, when I'm also compassionate towards people and empathetic towards people that can't get that. They can't connect with the idea of I'm grateful my heart is beating or my breath is because the environment in which we are moving through is quite intense and the focus is so much on money and survival and the things and the things and the things that because there's such an effort to create a consumer that our resilience is eroded through marketing messages repeated and repeated and repeated. And so my focus for gratitude tends to be focusing on, and if anyone's listening that's heard my work, I switch it up and I say, put in your day timer or in your phone a pop-up that says, why is my life so great?
Wow.
And that way your brain is being asked a question versus being forced to deliver a list. And the question allows for curiosity. And when the brain is curious, the brain can't be stressed, they can't coexist. And so
Hmm.
then you would get something that's authentically your authentic gratitude, which might be something silly or it might be something big, but it's real. And then that changes the nervous system state and the vibrational state of the body and the mind. Then you move through the world from authenticity, and it just is a really big game changer if you will allow yourself to ask that question multiple times a day until you can get comfortable asking it once a day,
Hmm.
because training is, you know, you have to practice. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
And give it one more time, just in case
yes,
people say, "What was that she said?" And she's talking about it a lot.
right.
So
The
what's the
question
phrase?
is, why is my life so great?
Hmm. That says it all.
Yes, because
And
we often ask the opposite. And so there's two
mm,
questions, why or why not? So
yeah,
why not go for the why, is it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, we have enough why nots in our lives. Why
Yeah,
not bring in a why? What a
yes.
concept.
What a concept. Yeah, if you ever want to simplify something, it's the why and the why not.
Hmm. Hmm. And that can pattern our lives. Like you said, it just pops up whenever. I would say even put it on the visor of your car.
Absolutely.
You know.
I think it is such a great question to have going on repeat, however often you feel like you need to use it. And in fact, this year, when I created a book called The Rhythm, and it's a workbook to assess last year's, the year before, and then plan for the year ahead. And I meditated and I asked, in my meditation, I'd like to offer something different than a word of the year because a word feels like just a full stop. It doesn't feel anything more than I feel like I have to carry this word with me all year long. That was my experience. Other people might have different experiences. And so I came up with this idea of creating a question for the year. And so that question helps keep redirecting you to the big vision or goals you might have for yourself for the year.
Hmm.
And then I realized, oh, I do ask a lot of questions. And I look in my phone, like I can see my prompts are all questions. So I thought, oh, that's really, really peculiar. That's, I guess, how I function best is through curiosity.
Well, that's it too. Recently, in one other episode, just recently, we talked about this, and it kind of goes along with the concept of a childlike curiosity.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes we're we're too adulting. I'm adulting now. Oh, well, that's good, but don't leave the childlike curiosity out of that. Remember who
Yes.
we are.
So true. And the other aspect of that is we're almost rewarded for emotional thinking versus scientific thinking
Mm,
because we're like, I believe this and I believe in this and I believe in that. But the scientific process is all based on a hypothesis. It's all about asking questions. So having that childlike curiosity, but also allowing yourself to be a true intellect and being fascinated by the unknown.
yeah,
There's stuff inside of your brain and your body or in your world that you can't actually name because you haven't experienced it yet,
that's it.
right? And so taking that scientific approach as well, I think just adds so much flavor to your life.
It's a good blend, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
it is
mean,
a good blend.
we have the reality of life, but then you add in the curiosity. And
Mhm.
sometimes when we talk about, particularly if we're talking about ethereal concepts and stuff like that, and we say, well, how does science ever figure into that? How does it not? You
How
know?
does it not? I mean, if you look at the scientific process and you look at things over history and time, I mean, like Galileo was jailed for suggesting the earth is round,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Science is ever changing. And so the things we might believe about what's ethereal, that some people might see and know and vividly believe in their hearts that science can't quite prove yet. And then when it's proven, then, it's just a process. I think it's also playful and exploratory. Kids do explore and play, and scientists do the same thing. And so I think keeping an open mind and being able to catch yourself when you say I believe in science or I believe in blah blah blah, then you might be in an emotional thinking mind versus a curiosity mind.
Well, I know that within our own, I'm going to say our own group, and that would
Yeah.
be the group of Druidry and similar uh, philosophies. It's amazing how many of the people that are in with that group are psychologists and psychiatrists and
Yeah.
scientists, and if you want to talk about stuff that's way out there sometimes to someone who's not totally exposed to it is Druidry or
Yeah.
paganism or anything, and they say, oh man, that's just way out there. Not really, because
Not
it's been
really.
around for tens of thousands of years,
Yeah.
and
And
it's fascinating.
it's fascinating. And then, in defense of the other people in regards to physics, and that world is very, very difficult to understand because it's
Hmm.
mathematical. And so I have compassion and understanding that they might not want to be open, but trying to keep that childlike curiosity and the scientist like question asking again at your own level will give you such a great, like I said, flavor to your life. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, blueberry, whatever you like. Mango, we could name
No,
all the flavors.
no,
Oh,
no mango.
I love mango, and I was thinking about having a pomegranate the other day. So,
There's short. I'll give you a short story on that Ranbir,
yeah,
and that is that
sure.
we had when I lived down in South Florida over on
Yeah.
the East Coast, we had it was actually a Florida native mango tree in the backyard,
Oh, wow.
and I had mango daiquiri, I had mango sorbet, I had
Wow.
mango juice, I had fresh mango, I had frozen. And honestly, in the 2 years that we lived in that house, I think I was mangoed out.
Oh, I see. That's fair. I don't know if I could ever be mangoed out, and I can maybe just say because I'm from India, like I'm just gonna say, oh, maybe because it's in my genes. We all at our house, the four of us just love mango, but we also, love all the fruits. So,
But
yeah,
so you go on with this, and we
yeah,
think about uh, the neurofeedback, and we
yes,
think about the human experience, and
yes,
add into that mango. And the way I say that
yeah.
is, it's a fruit of life.
Yes, that's so true.
Life is
That's so
so
true.
fruitful if we look at it that way, and if we see it.
Yes, yes,
Sometimes, and there's all these different varieties. I mean, we live in Western North Carolina,
yeah,
and today we went to a little local shop that we go to. It's a local market, and they've got a lot of local produce in there. And I'll bet you there were probably, at least 10 different varieties currently there of apples.
wow, yeah,
I mean, apple. How
yeah,
how many different possibilities? And then you go back into the other thing, but it's all the human experience.
yes, yeah,
And what may work for one may not work for the other. But
yeah.
there's the beauty of it is it's the variety. You can always have an opportunity.
And it's also some not it's nobody's fault if you choose wrong.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. It's just
just pick
you.
again, just pick
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
You
Just try
know,
again. And
the,
and
the,
nobody says that if I take one bite and I don't like it, that I have to finish the whole thing. No, you can spit
right.
it out and call it again, call it a day.
You can call it a day. And I think that there's such a push towards making other people responsible for our choices, our feelings, and our experience, and saying, because you did this, I can't have that, or all of this interaction that's being unfolding before us is all signs of very stressed nervous systems,
Hmm.
very, very contracted experiences. But yeah, you can just choose again. I think it was Louise Hay said that if you make a bad decision, just choose again, just make a new
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Just make a new one. So
Make a
you
new one.
you mentioned a minute ago the
Yeah.
book that you've got out, a workbook. It's called The Rhythm.
The rhythm, so it is just a free download, and
Oh,
it is an assessment for the year prior. And then I really like including seasonal exploration, just because I found as I aged that the new year didn't feel like the new year as much to me anymore. It didn't feel like it didn't feel like it really sat with me. So I now focus a little bit more on planting my seeds in the spring. And so there's even a process for people that might be thinking along those lines, and what you might celebrate in the summer and harvest in the fall, and then coming into the winter where we should kind of have that hygge, kind of be in that restoration phase. But
hmm.
it's got that, so it's an inquisitive workbook, and it's at innerchampion.me, I think, / the rhythm.
Okay.
And I try to create free resources when and where I can, only to lower the barrier to access to the type of support that people might be able to benefit from, because not everyone can afford to work with somebody like me. So I
So
try to find ways to be inclusive.
so the rhythm is set up with the rhythm of life. It through the seasons. Is that what I'm hearing?
Part of it is the seasons, and part of it is a reflection on the year that passed. And quite often, when you go through the exercises, you might realize you missed some really good points in the year that you had, because we have a negativity bias. Our brain does. We tend to, when we're reflecting, we're going to think about all the bad stuff that happened,
Hmm.
and maybe not acknowledging the highs. So it gives you a chance to really assess the year that happened. And then there's a pause for integration, because that's big in my world. And then there's a part that of creating what you would like for 2026.
Hmm.
And and then in that, there's also an inclusion of people that would like to think about it seasonally, and also how to craft your own question.
Oh, crafting your own question as
Yeah, it's
far
your guiding
as
question for the year. Yeah,
okay. All
yeah,
right. That's
yeah.
good. That's phenomenal.
Thank you.
That's very, very good. I was
Thank you.
thinking that with the rhythm part, because I think, and we look at like for an example, the wheel of the year.
Yes.
And the wheel of the year, of course, you're going to go with 8 celebrations a year that we would look at. It's not just 4 seasons. It's those every 6 weeks you have something based on the moon phase. And if we
Right.
look at that sort of thing, it really is a rhythm. And you
Yes.
get yourself tied in, like you just said a moment ago, about you're going to plant stuff in the spring, or in some
Yes.
cases, you're going to plant it now if it's a bulb or something like
Yeah,
that.
depending on what it is. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But you move with the rhythm of life as opposed
Hmm.
to every day is the same. It
Right.
may be, but where are you in the rhythm?
Absolutely.
Where are you in your flow for this
Yeah.
time of year?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So,
And it also helps us move away from the idea of things being so stuck and
yeah,
flat and because nothing in life is permanent. It's the ebb and the flow, and so whether we become so attached to the win or to the loss, like both come and go.
I do.
And so you have to learn how to live somewhere in that middle and have your own little flow that happens rather than having the manic spikes up and down. So, if you learn the rhythm, you can go nicely and flow nicely versus the striking between the high and the low.
Do you see that? Do you see that really coming to light when you're studying in neurofeedback and the human experience?
Yeah, absolutely. The conditioning that many people have had have been like the feast or famine. I think maybe the easiest way to
Yeah,
explain it.
yeah,
You have a little bit of safety, so you go out and you might expend all your resources, and then there's a crash, and then you recoup, and then you go and expend, and then there's a crash, and that can happen in how you are yourself. It can happen in relationships. In my perspective, we always think the victim and abuser are two different people, but sometimes that cycle's happening within us where we are having an experience and we feel like we're victimized. Then we go, well, I'm not going to take this anymore. And then we rise up and get angry and fight. So even that's a cycle, right?
hmm
So we have to learn how to press pause on the extremes and try to find the middle way. Um, and finding that yes, you're supposed to have again ups and downs, but they're not supposed to be so striking. And
right.
when they are so striking, that's a nervous system that's dysregulated.
Okay,
And
yeah,
so then it's up to you, because it's nobody else's job, to go get the tools and resources you need to understand what is it? What does that even mean?
yeah,
What is a dysregulated nervous system? Well, it's one that'll say, it'll perceive threat when there's not an actual threat in front of you. So you might have an interaction with somebody that person has no intent to harm you or hurt you or put your feelings down or hurt your feelings. But because of some experience you had in childhood, that energetics of that make you feel threatened, and then your response is aggressive or it's shut down. It's doing the work to understand what it is for you.
yeah. Oh, I was just thinking about how you're talking about it's not a true threat, for an example. And another one recently, I had a conversation or read that we, as a human race, as a human being, we never really have gotten out of the, I'm going to say, persona of the hunter-gatherer. Our brains are still wired that way. And we are in a constant state of fight or flight. And that's what drives our blood pressure crazy. That's what causes our stress if we allow that to happen. And I'm thinking,
Mhm.
one of the ones that I think about often is traffic and how can you avoid that? But or any kind of a rush situation. If you're in a production business or if you're in retail, there's a good one. You're in a constant state of, I've got to get this done. I've got to get this done. I've got to get this done. If I don't get it done, we're not going to hit our numbers. And if we're not going to, and you tell me that's not a fight or flight.
Yeah. You're being driven by a goal. You're irrespective of what you think, you're being driven by a goal always. The human is the only sort of being on the earth that we know of that is actually always goal driven. And
Mm,
so you can either control that goal or the goal controls you. So when you're moving through life and you have to meet your numbers, let's
mm,
say,
yep.
you can say, oh my gosh, I've got to reach that number. I've got to reach that number. Or you could say, okay, how can I reach that number?
Yeah. Yeah.
So your brain is the best Google or the best AI or whatever you want to call it. The best computer on the planet is between your ears. So if you learn how to manage what you own in there
Yeah.
by asking questions or giving directions to it that allow you to get the answers to what you want versus what you don't want.
Right.
But because we have a negativity bias, we tend to focus on what we don't want.
Right.
One of the exercises I do, I have a workbook on that's on Amazon. It's called Aligned, and in there, one of the exercises I have people do is ask them to make a list of the top 5, maximum 10 things that they do not want in their life.
Hmm.
And then when that's done, I ask them to make a list of the equal amount, 5 or 10 max, of what they do want in their life. And then I
Wow.
ask them to assess, does your number one don't want match your number one want?
Hmm.
Because if they do not, that will be the simplest reason why you are not achieving your goals.
Wow. And it still goes back to the simple, doesn't it,
Super
Ranbir?
simple. Super
It's so
simple.
simple. And
All of it is so simple, but simple isn't always easy.
well, that's it.
Yeah,
We're told, oh, you can't do stuff simply. Really?
you
You-
can.
yeah. You want to complicate things. Is that the way you're wired? Is that what you want to do?
The
This,
conditioning that tells you it has to be complicated for it to be worthy, and that's not true.
no, no, it's not. It's not
Ancient
true.
science has proven that time and time again.
Which
It's not
science?
fun, ancient science. It's
Sure.
not funded by any company. It's not fun, put a little castor oil on your belly button. I mean, that's been going on for forever and ever and ever. And
Hmm.
some like it sounds really silly and simple, but if you took it and actually tried it, and you'd be seeing like, oh my gosh, like my digestion feels better. Like
Ah,
or like what I'm saying is like super simple things, but again, because there are so many interests in the marketing machine that we're I have read comments, and I hand on my heart, I've read comments online of people asking for scientific studies that it's beneficial for them to go outside. Sorry, I couldn't even get that out without laughing. So this machine has convinced them that they need data and research to prove to them that being outdoors is healthy for them.
do you know you're familiar with the word wilderness, right?
Yes,
And do you know part of the etymology behind wilderness?
I'm curious to hear it.
It was initially, now someone listening to this is going to say that's not true. It was then, but I want to say it's way back to either the 18th or 17th century that when people were beginning to explore new worlds, they found these worlds, and within these worlds, they found things that caused real fight or flight,
Right.
like a 1,200-pound bear
Yeah.
or a 1,500-pound moose,
Right.
or out in the woods, and you're seeing, all these creatures that you've never seen before in your own land, and
Hmm.
they beginning to call it the wildness or
Right.
the wild areas, implying that it is a bad area or a scary area or a
Right.
terrifying area. And that's the word wilderness. That's what we get it
That's so
from.
interesting.
And it's like, it's not, it's a natural world. And I can understand why you would kind of hold back the smirk when you're saying you want scientific studies on why it is that you want to go outside.
Or why
Then
you should, and it's good for you.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, the Japanese came up with that little thing called forest bathing, and we just had an
Right.
episode on that not too long ago,
Right.
back in the mid 1980s. But for crying out loud, that term, it has not always been around with forest bathing, but there have been proven facts that have shown if you want the facts, there's definitely positive results from just being outside. Go
Well,
sit
and we
under a
can just
tree.
compare that over generation. So when you look at when I was growing up, we were not really allowed inside. We needed to be outside and playing until it was time to come inside and do chores or homework and have dinner. And if you look at the mental health rates, and of course, I'm going to take into consideration measurement, acknowledgement, and we're, more advanced on that. But right now, you know, the we have a mental health crisis, and I think that's partly due to the fact that there's all the technology, all the devices, and kids are not going and playing outside, and the community doesn't exist anymore, and all of those things. Everything has to be scheduled and planned ahead because now there's the business of sport. If your kid's not in a this and the that, like it's just this chaos and all these demands. And I think that is why there's a trend now of people saying, I just want to farm.
Yeah.
And I just want to move. I give me the animals, give me the land, let me plant and grow, and let me move away from this.
And that's all really good. And there's nice new
Yes,
terminology for that. They call it regenerative farming as opposed to
yes,
sustainable farming.
yes.
You want something to do that, but the interesting thing is how many of those people start out and they say, "Oh, wait a minute, there's real work with farming."
There's
You
real
know?
work, but that kind of work, though, I mean, when I was growing up, we had a garden because we were an immigrant family, and we used much of our yard to have a garden. And my parents, we all worked in it. We froze the food and or the vegetables and used them all year. But when you're doing that kind of work that's physical or purpose driven, the type of tired you feel is very different.
Mm-hmm.
The mental tired doesn't even let you sleep at night.
That's
That
right.
sort of physical tired and the work that goes into that, when your head hits the pillow, you're out. You're sleeping. You're not thinking you need to earn your sleep. And so, sleep, do you know that here where I am, there's a 1 year wait list, minimum 1 year wait list to get into the sleep study clinic at the university? Can you
Because,
imagine? Because people aren't sleeping.
yeah,
And people aren't sleeping because people are not living aligned with their nervous system,
uh,
with their body, with their energy expenditure. We need to be. If you look at the word emotion, and this has been said 1,000 times before, but most of the word is motion,
hmm,
like breaking that down. So as soon as you're actually feeling stuck emotionally, just move. Try
yeah.
moving and watch how quickly you get clarity, and then answers start to come for how you might solve that issue. And so, other mammals just go to sleep. We're like in this chaotic battle, even with sleep. And that's where your brain does most of its work,
Hmm.
and cleaning and cleansing
Oh,
and
okay.
filing. And, like we need sleep in order to have good mental health and good physical health.
I was reading Carl Jung when they were talking about how he's talking about the dream, and it was
Yeah.
a lecture that he had done on dreaming.
Hmm.
And don't want to go between the feud that existed between Freud and Jung, but nonetheless, there's so much power to be said for the dreams, and it's not
Yeah.
just, you know, what negative thing is there to dreaming, and it goes back to that same stuff that you just said. We want to think the negative side. What's the positive side? What things can I learn? Write down the positive aspects of the dream that you had. Yeah, and if it's something that is terrifying to you, yeah, write that down too. But what can you draw from that to make you a better person? What can you draw from that to create a more rewarding, and I'll use the terminology, human experience, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's such a conditioning right now to label and to put things in a category and box. Yet we are so big and expansive, and we don't fit in that kind of system.
Mm-mm.
And 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 so the connection between humans, I see it. I finally see the spark of people of it coming back. I
Mm-hmm.
finally start to see common sense is starting to creep back into conversations, which is so lovely.
It is.
And I think we're kind of, hopefully on our way back to some more community and connection and supportive conversations.
And that's really part of the essence of why I like to do this podcast is what can we do to create a better human experience for everyone? And with the work that you're doing with neurofeedback
Yeah.
and even would that include neurodivergence as well?
Yes, absolutely. One of the tools I have is it's called integrated learning systems, and it is a headset that has bone conduction,
Hmm.
and it allows us to first calm the nervous system, and then actually help through the bone conduction and the sound helps really quote unquote retrain for ADD, ADHD. So it gives them the tools and resources for the people that aren't on medication and some that are as well. I think everybody has to make their own personal decisions, and I have no judgments there. But there are a lot of people that would like to experience this without, like, help get resources without medication. So this is a really, really phenomenal tool for that. And then I have other programs that help retune the autonomic nervous system. So these are all physiology based. You can't bypass them with your thinking mind because we're focused on the physiology, the inner ear muscles and bones, the bone conduction, and all of that. And then the neurofeedback is really cool because we can do a scan and you can see your brain waves. And this can all be done remotely. The system I
Hmm.
have runs remotely. And then we can, choose the program for brain training. So I use the neurofeedback. Well, I use the nervous system retunement and the ADD ADHD integrated learning. I call that clearing high interest credit card debt.
Okay.
So I like clearing the debt off the nervous system and then building that wealth through tools like heart math or neurofeedback. And so it makes it easier than to get that big build on the other side once you've
Hmm.
got done the healing piece.
Well, I know one of the big things when I've talked about heart math before on the program,
Yeah.
and since you brought it up,
Yeah.
is and I see it correlating well with what we're trying to talk about, and that is within the human experience, there are all these positives and negatives that are constantly going on, but what ends up happening is because it's almost like the proverbial hamster wheel. We
Hmm.
don't take the time to step off the wheel and just say, why am I doing this? What do I need to do? And one of the first things that I remember in freeze frame was
Yeah.
freeze frame. Just stop. Just
Yes.
stop. The
Yes.
world will not end if you stop just for a minute, unless you're in the middle of high speed traffic someplace. In that case,
Yes.
pull over and stop. Don't, dear
Yes.
God, don't stop at 70 miles an hour. But
Yes.
it's a matter of that. Can you explain? Because our listeners have heard me explain it, but I'd rather hear it from someone else. Tell us a part of the essence of heart math and how it's a good tool.
Sure. Well, what drew me to it is there's an old ancient saying that says the longest distance in the world is from the head to the heart.
Mm.
And so, you know, call me, whatever. I like to romanticize things in my head sometimes with certain quotes and words that get my creative juices flowing. And when I started thinking about that and realizing and looking at research and understanding how absolutely intuitive the heart is,
Mm.
I don't have the reference or the study number. So if you're that type of person, you can go look this up yourself and do the work. But there was a study that was done that had that discovered they were showing the participants images that were horrific or joyful, and through the sensors and all of the tracking they were doing, what started happening is that the heart started predicting the image on, let's say, on average about 5 seconds before the image was shown. And in that there was a discovery that the heart actually has intuition. And then if you extend that idea a little bit further, some scientists say the brain produces enough electricity to power a small light bulb because we're electrical beings. And a lot of people might not want to acknowledge that, but that's what science is saying. And then if you looked at that and went, well, what about the heart? There's some scientists that suggest the heart produces an electromagnetic field 5,000 times greater than the brain.
Wow.
So we can't ignore the heart. So that's where I kind of started and thought, I started with the phrase head to the heart. And then I realized when you can plug them into each other and have coherence between the heart and the brain, that is how you truly have massive opportunity to create and manifest, or whatever you want to call it, in your life, because both are in sync. And then I went and explored heart math and got certified. And what I love about heart math is that they have a great deal of science.
Hmm.
So, they're science focused, but it also honors a lot of ancient practices. When you're looking at some of the practices, they have really, really deep roots if you look at it and if you really want to look into it. And then what I also love about them, which is unique, and I know it might sound trite or small, but I have my heart math sensor, which I'm showing you, you won't see on the podcast. It's affordable. For one, like the heart math sensor is affordable if you need if you need technology to do this. And what happens is when you buy the tool, the heart math sensor and tool, and I can send you a link for this, that maybe we can put in the show notes,
Please.
is that it includes lifetime access to the app.
Mm,
And then inside of heart math's app, so say for example, when we're stressed, it's hard to recall all of the tools and techniques. But you could
right.
get your heart math sensor, pop it on your ear, and they can guide you through heart focused breathing. They can guide you through quick coherence or freeze frame, and it's a lifetime access. And so you're not paying a monthly subscription, which everybody gets you to do.
Yeah.
Plus, in the app, they also have so many psychoeducation tools, so you can learn, and it's like a journey, and it's guided, and there's a voice of a woman or a man, and depending on what you pick. So they're doing some really good things in regards to accessibility and blending in the technology. I think it's important to recognize companies that are doing, or organizations, pardon me, that are really trying to move humans forward.
Mm,
And it's interesting to actually see the impact of practice on your HRV because it gives you a digital reading.
mm.
So you can see your heart rate variability, and then you can start to create, correlation isn't causation, but, or causation correlation, but you can start to then look and say, oh, I can see my HRV is this, and then look at your external world, start putting the data together, and it gives you some resources to create micro or macro changes in your life because you can do this all at home.
So the heart rate variability, that's how your heart responds to different inputs. That's not the right word that I want,
Yes.
but you got the idea.
Yeah.
Um, Different responses that we have throughout the given day. Yeah.
And it gives you that it's the flow, the up and down, and allowing you to really. I have clients that get so into it and they just want to get their number higher. And as silly as that sounds, and normally I wouldn't encourage that, but because it's heart math, they're having to do it through their breath and their body. That if they're aiming for a higher number, if you're that person and you're listening to this, you can, that's in there for you. You can still try to win.
Well, I could tell you that my last experience to that level was I had a guest at one point in another iteration. He came in to do a workshop with us, and he actually had the full system set up, and I'm talking about 15 to 20 years ago
Yeah,
for a sake.
I have that other one too. Like,
And he
you
would he
know,
would hook it up to your finger and let
yeah,
that's it. She's showing it to me.
yeah.
It's
I have
almost
I have it all.
it's almost like the blood pressure test or your pulse thing for your finger. And he got me going on that machine, Ranbir, and I thought I'm never gonna get the numbers that I want. He says, it's because you're so anxious about it. You need to
Yes.
chill.
Yeah.
You need
Yeah.
to just relax.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yes,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about their app. Like I said, it's an inexpensive way to get into wellness. I think it's about 400. I know not everybody's going to say that's inexpensive. Comparatively speaking, it's an inexpensive entry into technology wellness. It's about, I think, $400 Canadian, which is what, $2 American? I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Um, wow, that just slipped right
Not for
out.
long. Go
That
on.
slipped right out. But the so it's a really healthy tool that you can have as a resource at home, and you can go through and learn the techniques there as well. And I think it's a brilliant option for people that are interested in heart math. It's a like I said, I'll
Yeah.
send you the link.
Good. We'll have that
Yeah,
in the show notes. And keeping in the theme, because I know there's a lot of potential rabbit holes here that we can have some fun with, but
for
trying to
sure.
keep on the theme of, and I think we're doing a job with the human experience, and that's what I'm
Yes.
seeing, that's what I'm hearing. And you brought up apps, and I know that I have the inside view, everyone, but I happen to know that this lady that I'm talking with is a creator of a popular Today I Practice Life strategy, and
Yes.
that's an app, correct?
Yes. Yes. So when I started, it's called Today I Practice because I find affirmations quite frustrating
Hmm.
because they don't work with brain science. I have a little YouTube short video that I had made on it. Basically, it's like trying to live your life on credit when you're doing these affirmations, hoping and praying and wishing that this thing lands in your brain. But really, there's a simple way to train your brain. Just give it a direction and say, today I'm going to practice blah, 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 blah. And so, out of frustration with this self help world that I feel is constantly keeping people stuck, because if people are sovereign, then what are they going to buy?
Yeah.
Um, so I created Today I Practice. And in the first year I was creating that content, we were reaching, I think, close to 40 million people, 40
Yeah.
million eyeballs on it. And and so what I did, and I had to pause it because it was growing so quickly and I needed to focus on my children. So I'm going to start writing again. But I've put together, they're kind of like a card. So you flip through and you pick a practice on the app, and then you can listen to my voice. There's binaural beats, which have double blind scientific studies behind them and helping you get in those states. Or you can just read the practice and do it that way. So the app has that. So I tend to like close my eyes and flip through and let my sort of heart pick what my practice is each day. Or you could take that practice and use it through the week. And I'll be adding more and more cards, or maybe I'll do different versions, is what I'm thinking. And my goal is to create a Today I Practice booklet for the year.
Hmm.
And that wouldn't be till next year, obviously. So
Right.
we're already into 2026. But it's about mind habits, and the human experience includes training. Like you can train yourself to have a different mindset.
Okay, so within the context of that app, and you mentioned
Yeah.
about two beats, are you referring to the way that we go into alpha state, beta state, theta state, stuff like this, or is it something different?
Well, binaural beats allow you to create like some of them are designed to help they're like with the frequency of love, let's say.
Okay.
And the one that I've chosen for the app is that frequency. I think it's a 396, and I think I it's been a while since I did the work since I put the
Mm-hmm.
app together,
Yeah.
but it's more in regards to creation and creating things in your life. So training when through the sound, it's a cellular sort of hit that allows us to put the sound of the music, my voice, and what you're reading together. So it's a triple threat. It lands.
So it's an audible thing that you would utilize, and is it best to work with a headset when you're doing that, I'm guessing?
Yeah, and it's very short. It's like a minute or less that
Okay.
Today I Practice. Like when you pick your card or practice for the day, it's not
Hmm.
very long.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Because
the headsets are great.
I remember around the same time period going back 15, 20 years ago, and her name slips my mind for the moment, but I actually used to sell her CDs in our store that we had up in New England. But she had set up this thing where it was different tones,
Hmm.
and it was a background, and it would put you into the move from the alpha to the beta to the theta state
Yeah,
within that framework. And that's why it really interests me to say we have all this stuff around us. Now, obviously,
exactly.
you're not going to utilize that thing driving down the road. And I even tell people when I do the guided meditation in our podcast that, you know, you need to set this aside and you know, hit pause and do it somewhere else. Don't do it driving down the road. It's just not safe. And plus, you can't really do it justice, you
You
know.
can't do it justice. And then also, you're shortchanging yourself. You're saying, I'm not even worthy of pausing for 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Like, what's
shame
the
on. Yeah,
messaging you're sending yourself? Like,
yeah,
let's stop. Let's full stop,
yeah, yeah.
full stop. It's
Get
enough
off,
already.
get off the hamster wheel.
Get off of it because who are you serving by running yourself ragged? Who?
Yeah,
Nobody.
yeah,
And you're worthy of so much more.
yeah. You are.
Yeah.
So, you have a practice and
Mhm.
you have your work, and tell us a little bit about that really quick, because
Sure.
we have blown through this time.
Yeah,
But
we could, I know we could talk for a long
oh my
time.
gosh, we could talk for a lot longer. I can tell that already.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
I actually I just like I do sometimes. I pulled up your website, and it's very, very easy to find. I say that, but it's freewithin.me. Is that
yeah.
correct?
Yeah. 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 It's
And then
easy to
I
find. Yeah, for sure. And I
and
have on there, I used to have a podcast and I haven't recorded anything new in quite some time. But if you are interested and go to the blog page, you can read years and years and years worth of articles or listen to them on my podcast, Living Light Radio, which is still live. And I got a notification from Spotify. For some reason, it grew by 800% last year, which is interesting because there's no new episodes. Pretty neat. So there's a lot of resources, and my social media, I do try to do my best to provide tidbits or tools or tips to help you, even if you're not working with me. I do try to keep it resource focused.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So there's hopefully a lot there. And my website is not a completely up to date. The ADD, ADHD tools aren't there. Some of the neurofeedback is not there just because my practice is quite full and I haven't had a chance to finalize for the longest time those pages. I have them
Uh-huh.
sitting there in a document. Yeah. My son is now helping me. So
Well, that's good.
yeah, he's going to do the read through for me because he knows the processes well.
This is good.
Yeah.
So is that the best way that people can utilize to get in touch with you is through your website,
Yes. Yeah.
freewithin.me?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a work with me page there,
Yeah.
and so you can get in touch with me there for
Yeah,
sure.
I see that now. Work with me, clinical hypnotherapy and nervous system reattunement
Yeah.
or retunement and speaking. So, do you do you have workshops, or do you
I
do
am
speaking?
going to be doing a number. So I'm switching gears a little bit this year because, as you know, we started this conversation about my boys and that being my greatest focus. And my youngest graduated high school and is in uni. And so now, when I don't have sports to attend, I can actually plan online workshops and
Yay.
all of the things. So I'm going to be hosting one, depending on when you're listening, on the art and science of allowing, because it's very difficult for a number of very kind people to receive, whether it's money, whether it's love, whether it's opportunity. So that'll be about 6 weeks long. I was thinking I could launch it at the end of Jan, but it's probably going to be February. And that'll be that one. It's going to be nervous system, somatic, hypnotherapy, plus a fun twist on quote unquote manifestation with a workbook on how to, because manifestation, I think, confuses people in many ways. So what I've done is taken it and twisted it up a little bit with some practicality to see what happens to you, and it works really really well. And then I will be launching. I did a test run for a course on becoming the author of your life, so
Hmm.
taking full responsibility for it. And so that I will launch later in the year or possibly, yeah, I'm not sure when I'll be launching it because it's probably an 8-month program or a membership program.
Okay.
And all of my courses will be on what's the website is innerchampion.me. So
Okay.
innerchampion.me.
So can you get to that through your other website?
You know what? I'm not even sure because I don't know if they're linked. And that is a big red flag, clearly, because I'm not on my website very much. But it's a blessing. But at least, well, is it a red flag or is it that, most of my business is entirely referral based?
Yep.
And so, that's a blessing for the type of work I do, I guess. But yeah, I think it's connected, but I'm not sure. So like I'm fully exposed right now.
That's okay. You're fine.
Yeah, but
It's all good,
it is
Ranbir.
it's an easy thing to remember, innerchampion.me.
Interchange. Well, there'll be a link in the show notes. How's
Sure.
that?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So, so how does Ranbir create a better life for herself? What do you do for a better
Oh,
life?
what a
I know
good
probably has
question.
something to do with sons, but go on from there.
Well, I actually have a phenomenal husband, and he has, meeting him has changed my life entirely. So he's really a great thinker, and he helps me expand into my full sort of self. And until I met him, I was definitely contracted, and so he's really been just he's my biggest champion. And then we've got the two boys from that, and then we have our dogs Rocky and Cleo, and so we have what on paper, like like when I was growing up, all I was, when you grow up trying to survive, you think money, 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 and that isn't the answer to a fulfilling life. The answer to the fulfilling life is the peace in your mind and in your heart. So what do I do to take care of myself? Of course, I spend time with my family, my friends, my dogs. I get outside, I exercise, I meditate, I try to write. And I think what happens when you actually unlock the pieces, you have so much energy. So I have energy from the moment I get up till I decide I'm going to go to bed, and I get to live the full width of my life. That Diane Ackerman quote, when I get to the end of my life, I want to know I live the width of it, not just the length of it.
Hmm.
So I genuinely do my best to do that every day. Do I have some terrible days? Oh, yeah. Yes, mama, I do. But I'm thankful for those because I'm just thankful to be here. I'm thankful to be able to live and to keep growing and expanding and learning. And I think it helps that I'm just so fascinated by the things I don't know.
Mm.
And I just love learning. So I do read a lot as well.
And there's
Yeah,
the
so that's kind of my
curiosity.
day. Yeah,
Yeah.
curiosity.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I live a pretty simple life, I think.
I appreciate your honesty in the other part too, and your candor with that because what I'm talking about is, do we have bad days? You bet we do.
100%.
Yeah, and I want people to understand that, particularly so that,
Yeah.
we talk about toward a better life, and you're thinking, well, do you ever have a bad day? You're talking about all this stuff all the time. Yes, I do,
Yeah,
because I'm
absolutely.
human, and I go
Absolutely.
right back to the whole concept of the human experience. It is that wave, and it
Yeah.
is, you know, I have mentioned it before. This dates me, I guess, but years and years ago, we used to talk about oscilloscopes, and I was playing around with electronic stuff, and they talk about a sine wave, and a sine wave is a wave. There's
Yes, it
no
is.
huge valleys and no huge peaks. It's
Yeah,
more of an even flow. And
it
that's
is.
what the human experience is all about. And it's
Absolutely.
learning that if I have a bad day, I can get away from that and I can have a better day.
Yeah.
And there's so many tools out there, and you have shared so many tools that are
Thank you.
available. And I'm guessing today I practice life is certainly still out there
Oh yeah,
for
it's on the
people to
app. It's on the
utilize.
app store. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
one of the visuals you can have in your mind is when I'm teaching young kids about the self-image and the human experience, and I try to get them, it's a very difficult concept to understand, but I try to use metaphors and analogies that make sense to them. And I say, think about a trampoline.
mm,
And what happens to a trampoline? People will come and jump on that trampoline, and that trampoline will dip. but then it will bounce them back and say, that belongs to you, not to me. And then it comes back and settles. So we need to have that same level of elasticity that we would perceive to be in a trampoline.
Wow. There's a good way to finish this out.
There you go.
Do you have any other thought that you want to share with our audience before we go?
Oh my goodness. I think we could go on and on. I genuinely love what I do and I'm living my purpose. So I think when you're in that flow, you could go forever. So I think we could leave it at that. Mm-hmm. We and know that maybe we can do this again or find another way to connect with the listeners. But yeah, I could go on and on. I know we could.
No doubt about it. This has been wonderful, a grand experience, Ranbir. I really do appreciate it. And you enjoy your day with the dogs, the boys, the husband, and just outside love.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was such a pleasure.
That's our show for this week. Thanks ever so much to Ranbir Puar for chatting about life rhythms and her wonderful work. There are links in the show notes to connect with and learn more about Ranbir and her work. And as always, a very special thanks to each and every one of you, dear listeners, for tuning in to Toward a Better Life. Remember, if you are seeking insights and advice on how to create a better life for yourself, if you'd like to dive into self-care, self-development, experience hypnotherapy, readings, distant shamanic work, Reiki, well, drop me a line, kevin@towardabetterlife.com for your free discovery call, and we can talk about what we can do to help you. In that discovery call, we discuss your goals, set plans for achieving them, and move toward your own journey toward a better life. You can also visit my website, towardabetterlife.com, for past episodes, blog entries, ways to enhance your spiritual journey, along with some upcoming events. Please subscribe to Toward a Better Life through your favorite podcast platform and leave a review if you would on Apple, Spotify, Overcast, whatever podcast platform you might be using, and it helps to spread the word about the program. Always remember, if you want to share your story, your music, your prose, if you want to be my guest, please write to me, kevin@towardabetterlife.com. Until next week, enjoy your rhythm-like life toward a better life.